Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get rolling here. I want to go ahead and call the Area Planning Commission May 1st, 2025 meeting to order. Could I get roll call, please?
Vicki Andrews. Harry Bumgarner.
Here.
Tyson Brooks.
Here.
Rick Elwell.
Here.
Jared Hahn.
Here.
Bill Horan.
Here.
Jeff Lance. John Potter.
Here.
Tim Rohr.
Here.
John Schumacher.
Here.
Melissa Woodward. Here.
Okie dokie. Board members, in your packets, we have the minutes from our January 9th meeting. We haven't been together for a little bit here, so go ahead and take a peek at that. And if there's any corrections that need made, now would be the time to bring those to our attention. If not, I would need a motion to approve.
I would move to approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion to approve as presented. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, right hand. Opposed, same sign. Do we have any old items of business, Mr. Lotzenheiser?
We do not.
Okay, folks, in your packets, we've got two items this evening. The first item is A25050 Jefferson Township, southeast quarter of 3128 North 12 East. David Runkle Jr. and Shonda Runkle request approval for rezoning to AR. Property is located at 6126 North 100 East, Ossing, Indiana, 46777. It is currently zoned A1. Do we have a representative here for that? Yep, why don't you come on up, state your name, and tell us a little bit about what you want to do so we can get an understanding of what's going on.
Hi, my name's David Runkle. I'm wanting to do a small housing development. And that's why I was wanting to get it changed, or that's basically about it. There would be maybe 7 houses, acre lot, and it'd bring probably over $3 million to Wells County on all the development part of it. That's basically it.
Give us a moment here. Mr. Lotzenheiser, is there anything the board should be aware of?
Yeah, it's just so you kind of give us clarification to the rezoning request. So in this matter, the A1 zoning district does not allow for a major subdivision petition. So the rezoning to agricultural residential or in some cases suburban 1 residential would be required to allow that type of development. The reason in this case that a major subdivision would be needed is because the property that this is coming from has exhausted its sell-off rights over the years. So the remainder acreage does not have any additional sell-offs. So I don't know, you want to give a little bit of update from conversations in regards to the town of Ossian that'd be pertinent for the board in regards to the sewer hookup?
To the town of Ossian and talked to them about the sewer hookup, and they told me I'd be able to do that. I would have to pay the initial tap fee and put the sewer pipe in and stuff, and then get reimbursed when the other houses come in on the pipe that I have put in. But they told me that verbally that I could do it, that I could tap into it, and it could handle the 7 houses.
So in the it'd be 8 including yours.
7 to 8 houses. It all depends on how much land the driveway takes and a small retention pond.
Has this been looked at by plat?
No, reasons.
Okay.
So the AR zoning actually is a reduction in potential uses from the A1. The only new thing is a major subdivision, but it's losing the abilities to do confined feeding operation, which probably wouldn't work there because of setbacks, but that would, losing some of the A1 uses, otherwise they're very similar in classification to each other.
And there might not even be that many houses. Because what my wife was wanting to do was sell our house and build clear at the very back. And keep a couple more acres back there.
So the minimum lot size in AR with
But
sewer.
sewer is a half an acre.
Half,
Mm-hmm.
so it could be less than
Yep.
Do you anticipate a public road going back in there, or will that be a private drive?
It'll be basically a drive that we take care of.
Private.
Yeah.
Have you done, or had any preliminary engineering or anything like that, survey or engineering?
No, because I didn't want to waste my money.
Right, you want to take this step first?
Right. I do know that it's going to be $30,000 for electric, the sewer pipes, $24,000. The driveway's about another 20 grand. And, I mean, I've checked into all that stuff. And, you know, all that money will be coming back to the businesses around here.
Is there gonna be a requirement as far as what size homes?
I was wanting to keep it around 1,800 square foot.
I don't know, does that have anything to do with what, that's not really a development plan, I guess.
It'd be a major subdivision. They would create that requirement as far as a private covenant that would be attached to it. That was down the road when we would get to.
You know, I don't want no prefab homes or nothing.
Is the 1,800 minimum or maximum?
I'd say minimum, yeah,
Minimum?
minimum, yeah.
Is there, Jared, are there any limitations of number of access points off of that private drive?
It's up to 25
Okay.
before you need a second point of ingress egress.
Okay,
So with what they're asking for, it'd be
Okay.
consistent with a single point.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, and even if they divided their 8 one-acre lots in half to meet the half acre, they're still under the 25, 16 out of 25.
I have no plan on doing that.
Sure.
Correct. We're looking at, beyond you,
Right,
for whatever happens in the future,
Mhm.
years and years.
right.
This piece, is it the remainder of all the sell-offs, or is it one of the sell-offs originally?
I don't remember off the top of my head how it
I
is
don't
shown.
know. I don't know if it matters,
Just
Well,
curiosity.
There's the split off of the house to the south, so
Right.
that came off.
My neighbors can buy property off of me.
Yeah.
I do know that.
It- Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if that's the remaining primary or not.
Right. But, the last sell-off I done was to the house that was just built right next to me,
Yeah.
to Carnes. And I did talk to most of my neighbors, but like 4 or 5 of them. And everyone I talked to said it didn't really bother them. And I didn't talk to the group that's real close to me, because I know that they don't want it.
Would that be the two to the north and the one to the,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Well, board members, you have any other questions for Mr. Runkle?
Jared, do you know if there's any kind of drainage issues in that area?
So there aren't any county regulated drains right in that area. I do know in years past, so the drainage from that site generally goes along that old railroad grade to the west. There's nobody really responsible for maintenance of it or anything. That that would be kind of an issue, I guess, when and if there was a development plan of how does that water get from there to a county drain that, is there easement, is there, it's something that would have to be dealt with at that point. That could be kind of the issue. Because there is no clear, oh, this is a county ditch, it's easy to get to. It's about a little over 3/4 of a mile to the county ditch, so.
Which I cleaned. My whole side out on my property. I know.
Downstream.
Right, yeah.
It's good if there's easement, it's
Mhm.
clear, if there's a problem, here's who's responsible to fix it. That's something that you have to work through, right, this goes through.
Okay.
the plan. That's a part of that, is figuring that out.
I'm sure he would let me go through there and clean it up.
Would there be some type of a buffer in between the other housing or other houses in the area?
What do you mean a buffer?
Like trees or shrubs or mound of dirt or?
Probably not. I mean, I thought about transplanting some of the trees all around, just because of the fact I don't want to really bulldoze them down. They're small oak trees.
No buffer that's required for a major. Yeah, buffer is not required for a major subdivision.
Well, I was just
The
thinking-
buffer, yeah, the buffer would be required if there was an opposing zoning district, like a business or industrial.
Yeah, that may be the case, but I was just thinking of the other homeowners in the area, how it's going to affect them.
Board members, that good? You good for now? Okay, Mr. Runkle, why don't you go ahead and step back for us, and we'll see if anybody from the public would like to make a comment on this. Okay, at this point, if anybody from the public would like to make a comment about this, come on up, state your name, and tell us a little bit about what you want to say.
Good evening, my name's Tyler Carnes, and I live in the property immediately adjoining this to the south.
To the south?
Yeah. And my wife and I, we had drafted a letter and we went and talked to the neighbors, and we were in the opposition of this. I have 17 signatures from other neighbors in the adjoining area, either adjoining properties or immediate area where this major subdivision would directly affect our lives. I would like to submit that to the board if I can.
Okay.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, in addition to what the points that I put in there, I'm concerned with 7 to 8 houses going in there, and they would all have to have some type of well, and what that would do to the water table and how it would affect the wells that are already existing. And then not only just this, we all moved into a rural area so that we didn't have a major subdivision. You know, if we wanted to live by that many houses, we would have chosen to live elsewhere. So These houses would go directly behind mine. I would have to look out my backyard and see those every day. It would disrupt the nature. There's also a small pond that's already on there that has habitated animals. It may be considered a wetland at this point, so I don't know if that affects rezoning issues there as well. But some of those people that signed that were able to join us tonight, but several of them were not able to be here. So I just ask that you take a moment to read that letter, and if you have any questions for me.
Mike, is there a map about wetlands right in there or anything?
Is yours the new white home?
Correct.
Newer white home right there?
Yeah, black and white.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to add?
I have nothing else to add.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Courtney Springer. I live pretty much directly behind where this residential area is going to be put. My husband and I purchased our home over 12 years ago. We picked this area because of it being a rural area. We have about 5 acres of land, a beautiful pond, and I really enjoy not looking out my back window and would not like to see houses after houses after houses. The other area of concern that I have is the owner of the 10 acres of land next to us. If anybody has spoken to him of his concerns for having residential property directly behind his farm ground. I've reached out to his granddaughter, and so she's going to try to touch base with Mr. Milholland and see how he would feel about having a residential area butt up next to his farm ground. I just would really like for you guys to consider the neighbors. Like I said, we moved to a rural area for a reason, and we would like to keep it rural.
Courtney, is that the field that's just directly west of the property?
Correct.
The farmer's field?
Yes, on 75 East.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
You have anything else? That wasn't a thank you to dismiss you. Do you?
Sorry.
No, wasn't that. Do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Hello, I'm Donna Tournay, and I live right next door to the property. And we did move out there just to be in a rural area. We moved from north of Fort Wayne Creek because they were putting in additions out there, and we didn't want houses on top of houses near us. So we'd really appreciate it if you keep it as a rural community,
Which direction from the property?
the north,
Okay.
right next door.
On the 6.75 acres?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Andrew Wallace. I live kind of catty corner on the back side of where this would be, right next to Springer's. I'm off 75 East, 6363. It's basically the same reason. I mean, we moved out there, built up our house, remodeled everything, did a bunch of stuff to be in a rural area and not be in a housing addition, because we lived in several housing additions, and you know, just to have to look out the back where we have a nice view and see a bunch of houses just doesn't seem an intelligent decision for me to, for the board to even make that kind of decision. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Mike Dillon. I live 6200, and we're back off the road there. And we built back there because we wanted to be back there where it's quiet and don't want no housing addition by us. And Also, when you're talking about putting a sewer back there, okay, we had to pay and put a lift station in, a tank, to pump it all the way up the road, paid to tap into it, right? Now, when they're gonna do 7 houses, aren't they gonna have to have some kind of lift station in there to pump all that up there? So who's gonna pay for that?
They would,
Who's gonna pay for the electric for it?
the developer.
For over the years that,
That would be like, if there was a master thing, that would probably like a homeowners association or something.
so any pump goes out or anything? Cause 'cause the pump station's there at, Norwell.
Yes.
And we're downhill, so I know that you gotta have check valves in there and everything to keep that from coming. Because we've had issues and we've dealt with it. So, I mean, and then the well thing, you know, you put that many houses on there, and if the water table drops, who's gonna pay for our wells? We are. So we're out the money. So, I'm not for this at all. And there's a lot of people here that aren't for this at all, that have come to show up. So, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Gentleman and lady, I live at 6215, just across the road. My name is Alan Shoemate, and I've been there 16 years. And I don't want a house in addition I've got to look out at every morning. The traffic is bad enough from the Norwell High School, flying by there doing 90 miles an hour. So if I get 7 more people and their kids driving, it's gonna be the most congested area that you ever saw. They're gonna put a light in before they get to the stop sign. It's just ridiculous, the traffic. So, I'm saying no to it. I've thought about it. Got nothing against you, Dave, but, I've lived there and I wanna live the rest of my life in peace there. I don't want all that traffic. I really don't. Thank you.
My name's Dennis Bobet, 6378, about a quarter-mile north of this development. I guess my concerns are, this is one proposed development. What's to keep somebody else with a few acres to want to do the same thing? Now you got, because I got 14 acres I could, do the same thing with. When I bought that acreage, I was told I'd have 2 sell-offs. Now, with this rezoning, other than my neighbors being honked at me, I could go in there and do 10, 15 sell-offs and make the situation even worse. And I don't think anybody wants that, so. I just, and not just me, but anybody along that road that has some acreage and wants to make some money off of it, what's to stop them from doing that with the rezoning, so. I just like to see zonings holding their weight. You stand behind them, don't change your mind on them. I guess that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
My name is Brian Kistler. I live at 6461 North. They're on 100 East. It's probably about a half a mile on the east side of the road. Mr. Runkle approached me several months ago or weeks ago maybe and asked me what I thought. My initial thought was that, hey, this is a country, it's your property. You do what you want with it. There's nobody on that road lived there longer than me. I built my house in 1991, and I've seen everybody build their houses along the road. So I'm not opposed to development. But I've had second thoughts about this for two reasons. Number one, if I was the houses right in front of where this is going in, I would certainly want my neighbor's support to stop it. And you have mine. The second thing that, and this is just rumor, and I just heard this, but I was informed that the plan that Mr. Runkle had was to sell these lots off, sell his house, and move away. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that seems pretty disingenuous to me, that he creates a situation and then doesn't live around it, to enjoy it or to disdain it. And so like I said, I've had a change of heart, and my opinion is that I do not think that it should be done. And I would just like to say it again, there's no one on that road been there longer than me. Everybody has moved on or moved out or built in. And that's just on that section. I can't talk about past 700 North or 600 East, but on that stretch, I'm the old man in the house. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is William J. Anaya Sr. I live at 6409. My wife and I moved here over 2 years ago from Colorado. We searched extensively to find a place where I would be comfortable in. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I don't care to be around too many people. Also, my opinion about housing is, in Colorado, I worked 16 years as a maintenance supervisor for a housing complex. And I know what could come in and out of a housing complex. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, and you never know what you're gonna get. So I am opposed to this. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Last call. Well, you'll have a moment to rebuttal, correct? So we'll wait a little bit, have board discussion, then call him back up. Okay. Coming? All right.
I'm Shonda Runkle, and I live there at that house. And I was thinking, maybe if they wanted to stay like that, maybe they could all go in together and pay the extra taxes and buy it for themselves all together. Or what if we wanted to build a house at the back of the property and sell a couple lots so we could live in the back and just sell a couple lots for the extra money to get the electricity and everything to the back? But we can't do that if nothing gets approved. Everybody wants to look at the view, but nobody wants to pay for anything. And I know we bought the whole property, but it's like the taxes have gone up, everything's gone up. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Shonda. David, did you want to come back up? Okay. At this time, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing section of this. Board members, there were some questions that I wrote down that we can discuss at this time, correct? Mr. Runkle, why don't you come on up for us, please? The first question I have, I'm curious, you said that you talked to neighbors that had no problem with it, and
Apparently they changed their minds.
yeah, I've been writing down names and circling and surrounding the entire property. I haven't found one in that you said?
I know, it's, from the ones I did talk to, some of them changed their mind.
I understand, okay. Jared, what about, or anybody on the board, what about the water situation? Is it all private well? Is there any city?
No, it's all wells.
And the potential for the water table to lower with 7 additional wells is?
The question for Mark Bash is DNR. Probably
Yeah.
the expert in that.
Okay.
Now, from experience in this part of the world, fairly stable water table, but, you know, strange things happen.
Okay.
We did have the land for sale before I come to this conclusion. So, yeah, the neighbors connecting to it could have bought it.
Mr. Lassenizer, have we had a traffic study recently on that road?
No, I mean, the county has like a county-wide study for like traffic accidents and stuff, but not a specific count or study on it.
I think the Northeast Planning,
Yeah, NERC did.
they probably have some.
We do have traffic counts for it, but not a specific, just that road study. But we'd have counts and crash data.
I used to live on that road, and I will attest in the mornings and afternoons, it is terrible out there. And it used to back up past where that property's at, going south. I don't know.
It still does.
Board members, do you have any other questions for Mr. Runkle?
Not for him. I'm just curious, Mike, if we approve this, doesn't mean anything happens, correct?
Yeah, so in this case with the rezoning, we are making a recommendation to the county commissioners, which will make the final decision on this.
Right, and then that's when all the planning and everything,
And no matter what happens, tonight,
Yeah.
the county commissioners could uphold that decision, or they can do
True.
just the opposite.
Right.
So,
But to complete the task, if it said to a major subdivision, whether it's to split it into 2 lots, 8 lots, or more, that would happen at a public hearing following this. And that's more of a ordinance compliance.
size of lot, that's when they would determine what.
Yeah, that's when they would
structure,
set lot
wells,
size and
all those
easements.
questions would be dealt with at that point. We don't necessarily have to deal with.
Yeah, we would
That's
talk
correct.
about
Water.
sewer design.
So on a rezoning request, correct me if I'm wrong, there can be some conditions placed on rezoning that, this is just hypothetical, we could say you could split it into 2 lots, you could split it into 3 lots. I mean, that's a.
Yes,
that could be a condition.
yes.
Or the commissioners could put the same condition.
A
or
re-
different
a
condition.
rezoning can have a commitment, and that could be a discussion.
I'll be cool with 3. I still could build a new place at the back.
I mean, I'm looking at the aerial photo, looking at it on GIS, and within a half a mile of that lot, there's about 30 houses on it. For the gentleman that said he was there the longest, you know, he's probably watched all of that, or a lot of that build up in that time.
He has one of the nicest homes there.
But
Jared, that'd be
a lot-
Mr. Kistler.
Yeah, a lot of that has built up. And, I guess I would have a hard time saying that you're completely out in the country when you have 30 houses right around it. I mean, there's a lot of houses already there. Is 1 or 2 more, it's going to change everybody's mind. 7 or 8 more, maybe. Could the gentleman, the farm grounders, could they sell another lot or 2 off of that, and you have 2 more houses out there? I mean, is that something to weigh into this? I understand they bought a piece of property, maybe it's more acres than they wish to take care of, pay taxes on, that sort of thing. Is there an option to say, hey, you can split it into 2 pieces or 3 pieces or whatever? I suppose we'd have to look back to see if that were a sell-off. It's over 10 acres. It could theoretically be split one time, or was that the split that was done south? Or do we know?
When I sold it to Carnes was my last sell-off.
So,
And then I sold some other land to the people right next to me because their beach and all their pine trees was on my property. And I was nice to them, and they paid going price for the property, and I sold that back to them.
I mean, theoretically, it might be able to be split in 2.
yeah, there might be a
As a
chance to use
division
the
of
exemption,
minor
yeah.
subdivision type thing.
Mhm.
I think the division of a minor subdivision was used when.
That might be the case, that was used to
That's what
break the
I'm
other
trying to
house
remember
off.
back.
Yeah.
I think for that split to happen, you guys came to this meeting.
No, I think it was to have our house built. Which you might be right. It's been 4 or 5 years.
I mean, the one advantage if they're going to have a private drive, one road, you have one point of going onto the road, that helps with traffic. I've been out there in the mornings too, it can be pretty busy. If you add sell-offs further north of there on a farm field now, it's the same traffic.
Yeah.
And that would be allowable without any rezoning, any changes, so. I don't know if the stoplight, the four-way stop there at 224 has made any difference.
That was what I was
I don't
wondering.
know if that's made it better or worse.
It made it better.
Did it make it better? Okay. Unless you forget it's there.
Made it a lot better.
Yeah, I figured it would make it better.
Yeah,
Roll
because
through there on our
it
driver's
helps with-
ed.
It helps that you can stop.
Stopping,
Stop.
yeah.
Yeah.
I assume.
Board members, do you have any further questions for Mr. Runkle? Keep in mind that, just understand, just for the public to understand and for the board as well to understand, the ultimate decision in this situation really doesn't lie with us. This decision is to the Wells County Commissioners. We are appointed to hear this recommendation, hear public comment, have a discussion about it, and then one of our board members will make a recommendation for, recommend for approval, recommend for not approval, recommend with conditions attached, so we could do a commitment on the recommendation. So there's a number of things, board members, to think about here before you would consider making a recommendation to our Wells County Commissioners, which will have the final say. They could take our recommendation and ignore it, or they could run with it. So the final decision here will lie in the hands of the Wells County Commissioners themselves. When is that meeting?
That'd be at their next scheduled meeting that we can get on the agenda, so it'll probably be the third Monday of the month.
So yeah, they typically meet on the third Monday of the month after the decision, or the recommendation that this board would make. Thank you.
I guess I'm gonna ask one question. When you purchased the property, you had other sell-offs available, you sold those off. I mean, did you kind of know that I'm getting down to the end, this is all I can do?
When I bought it, I did not realize, when I sold the last, the one off, then I knew I was done. But when I bought it, I thought that there would be more. If that makes any sense.
Sure.
but I didn't change it to it, so.
Could I just get a little history on that ground?
Their farm ground goes up to ours.
And the public hearings.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the public hearing section has been closed. Sorry. What do you think, board members? It's a doozy.
I'm just, this is all wishful thinking right now. You don't have, do you have an architect? Do you have anything in writing? Is it just, we got to get it rezoned so we can move forward?
I was just wanting to get it rezoned before I went and spent the money to have it surveyed, have
So
the,
it's, nothing happens. We could rezone it and it stays a farmland. If
That is a potential.
that's my,
I just didn't want to waste a bunch.
a lot of times we get these and they've already had an architect or people have looked at stuff and we've got more information. Right now, this is just rezone it so we can at least justify spending money to
Because it's
get it looked at.
quite a bit of money.
Yeah, I understand.
I think there is definitely the discussion about if there's a right size discussion, as Jared suggested, that you could set some level of commitment if there's favorability towards that.
My feeling is, I mean, looking at the criteria that we look at for zoning, is it fits the criteria that we look at, and, with respect to, Mr. Rumpel, I'd like you to be able to do with your property what you wouldn't be able to do with your property rights. However, I also feel that, changing that character, the rural character of that land by putting small lots on there would kind of that would create a problem, a little bit of an issue. That's what I'm stuck on. So I guess my feeling is I would like to see this move forward and with the recommendation, but limit it to five homes total on that property, which would include the one that's already there. So that would be 4 additional homes back there. I think that would keep them roughly about the same size lots as what's out in front already. I don't think that would change the character of the density in that issue. That's just my thought.
It's fine.
Mr. Lotzhauser, how far can our board members take down the commitment? Could they restrict to 3/4 of an acre in a certain northeastern corner or a southwestern corner? Or how specific
I think
would
you
we
could-
be for
I
the
think
commissioners?
You could set an acreage amount, and you could set a number of lots. I don't know if you
Okay.
get beyond that.
Okay, so if, board members, then, yeah, if you had an idea to make that recommendation for the commissioners, an acreage and a lot number would be something to consider.
And I guess I'm looking at what's there and what's potentially, so typically when somebody just sells off a lot out in the county,
Yep.
there's no detention required, there's no drainage plan, there's none of that. If you're doing it as a subdivision, then that's kind of, so it was mentioned there's a wooded area, is it wetland, is it not a wetland? Not something that I decide, that's determined by the Corps of Engineers, or a consultant that files that with the Corps of Engineers, that's who determines wetlands in the United States. That area may be out of bounds, you can't do anything. You may have to dig a detention pond outside of that, and to kind of keep the character of this same size or similar size lots as some of these others around there. I don't know that you can split it into more than about 3 pieces and kind of keep that same character. There is looks like a wood line on the west side of it, so houses that are to the west, there's probably gonna be some natural buffer there. Looks like there's some buffer to the north, not exactly where the house to the north is, but there is some.
Just west of the pond.
to the west of the pond.
Yes, sir.
I guess if we go down that path of limiting it, I'm thinking that 3 lots is probably most. Now, once again, the commissioners can say 8 lots is fine.
When you say 3 lots, is that including one of them being the existing home?
The existing home, a total of 3.
3 total.
So 2 additional, split that into 3 pieces. I guess that, I would go for that direction. I can appreciate that it is kind of a rural setting, everybody doesn't want the cookie cutter housing subdivision on the side.
Right.
I get that. If they're 4 or 5 acre lots, it's pretty close to what everybody else is thinking of, so it's gonna fit that character.
Which would comply more to number 3 in the most desirable use.
Well, you know, currently it's farmed, most of that land. It looks like a lot of the other ones that have sold off and everything, they're not houses. Do you,
And it's not good farm ground.
do you kind of push housing to go on something that's less than ideal farm ground instead of taking farm ground somewhere else? Does that make more sense?
Yeah. And that kind of goes to the comprehensive plan and talked about putting housing along rural sewer lines instead of places where septic systems would be required. So it fits into that mold.
And it helps pay that pipe too.
Do I think the 2 additional wells is gonna cause a problem? Where I live, there's
But to do what we was wanting to do was sell our house and have the other 2 and keep 4 at the very back. We already got blueprints drawn up of what size of house we were gonna build, which was gonna be big.
So you're saying 4.
Right. That's
In that, what you just described, you were saying.
right. I mean,
The existing home, 2 lots, and
I was gonna
The
keep
back.
everything behind that waterway. Because we was gonna build a 60 by 40, or no, 60 by 30, and then a 32 by 40 connected. So it's gonna be big.
Anybody else, board members? Any other thoughts? All right, you have 3 options for your recommendation.
Would it be wise for me to get, if this goes on, somebody to like represent me, I guess?
that's up to you.
I think it'd be wise.
Would you like us to continue this meeting? I mean, no, I mean,
To
you want us
come
to
back
vote
here?
tonight, or would you rather that we
Yeah.
continue and?
Go ahead and do what you're gonna do. We're just trying to make it better for me and my wife and son.
Okay, board members, we're going to need a motion.
I'll make a motion to set it as recommendation, but I like Bill's with 5 lots, or a total of 5, as a addition onto that.
You realize that Mr. Runkle was okay with 4?
I know, but I just wanted to put the 5. I envision it, it's probably going to be 3 when they get done with roads and all the other stuff that they're going to have to do.
Yeah, well, make your motion.
I make a motion to approve it to A, R and stipulate 5 lots.
So a due pass recommendation.
Do pass
So
recommendation.
we have a motion for a due pass recommendation to the Wells County Commissioners with a limit of 5 lot sizes. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second on the board. Do we have any further discussion?
You know, we looked at a project on the west side of Bluffton recently that would have involved a multi-family dwelling at the end of a single family house neighborhood. And at the end of the day, the gut feeling was, you know, it just didn't fit. And I think in this case, we have to look at this and go, you know, how much is too much to what becomes a housing addition in the middle of a rural setting. So I certainly have sympathy for the other homeowners, and I understand that it's his property and he wants to develop. So I always try to seek a compromise. I guess the question is there a compromise? I don't think it's fair that you tell him he can't do anything with it. Would you want somebody to tell you you can't do anything with yours? But what is that magic number? I don't know if 5's it. I'm not convinced.
Any other discussion? All in favor, right hand. Opposed?
Jared?
So it was 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed. So it fails.
Okay, that motion failed. Board members, we need a new motion, please.
So I'm going to try a different number, I guess. I'll make a motion to send a due pass recommendation with the commitment that the property building be split into 3 total parcels.
Okay, we have a proposal that, a motion that the property be split into 3 pieces, a due pass recommendation of the Wells County Commissioners. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second on the board. Any further discussion, board members? All in favor, right hand. Opposed, same sign.
So, yeah, with the missing board members, we didn't pass that either.
Oh, boy.
So we need 6.
I'll make another motion.
Okay, with our missing board members, that motion did not pass due to the fact that we have missing board members. We didn't have enough for in favor.
Yeah, did not reach the quorum number.
Did not reach our quorum. So we need a third motion.
I'll move to send a do not pass recommendation to the Wells County Commissioners.
We have a motion for a do not pass recommendation of the Wells County Commissioners. Do we have a second? Any further discussion on that before we vote? All in favor, right hand? Opposed, same sign. Mr. Elwell, we need to find that magic number, sir.
I'll make a motion, we try 4.
Okay, we have a motion on the board for a split of 4 with the commitment for a due pass recommendation to the Wells County Commissioners for a split of 4. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have a motion and a second? Board members, any further discussion on that before we vote? All in favor, right hand? Opposed, same sign.
I would operate the no recommendation.
Board members, we do have, since we cannot come to an agreement here, which is totally fine and fair, I would put into your brains that we would, since we have not been able to make a recommendation in 4, that we would propose a no recommendation to the Wells County Commissioners. As president, I cannot make that, but that is something that you should entertain.
I'll make a motion that we submit a, we call it a
No recommendation.
recommendation to the commissioners. I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, right hand?
Yep, they're all there.
Opposed, same sign.
So what's that mean?
So a no recommendation means that the Plan Commission Board does not have a feeling up or down on your rezoning request. So we will make that petition or pass your petition on to the county commissioners for their next meeting, and we will present that finding to them. You have the ability to request to be on that agenda, and so does anybody else that's interested in the petition. So you will want to get in contact with the Wells County Auditor's Office in regards to putting your name information on there. So at that point, that is what will be the next step, is going there, and they can choose to do one of 3 things. They can choose to change it and approve the rezoning. They can choose to deny the rezoning and go down, and they can also choose to do nothing. And after 90 days, because of its being a no recommendation, the rezoning would fail. So there's 3 options. Those options would be on the table for them to decide to use at that time. So that would be the next step. So we'll confirm with you, verify for sure that that is the date as soon as we get on the agenda.
Mike, are the commissioners made aware of the reason for the do not pass, or is it just, that's what it was?
Yeah, so they would get a report. We would have the history of the votes and stuff so they could see that information. We will just not be pushing a recommendation one way or the other.
Okay, Mr. Runkle, we have no further business, so you can step down. All right, board members, our next item in the agenda is IC 3674-603 zoning ordinance. Oh, whoa, no. I'm on the wrong page. Forgive me. A25-0506 Harrison Township, the northeast quarter of 926 North 12 East, the Jackson Family Trust. It requests approval for a proposed gas station and convenience store. The property is located at the southwest corner of State Road 1 and Harvest Road in Bluffton, Indiana, 46714, and is zoned I-1. And we have a representative. Why don't you go ahead and state your name and tell us all about it?
Sounds good. My name is Rob Sweet. I'm with McBride Dale Clarion, 5721 Dragon Way, Suite 300, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45227. Here tonight on behalf of Casey's and the Jackson Family Trust, requesting approval of a development plan for the proposed project. Casey's proposes to purchase approximately 2 acres from the 5.5 acre parent tract. Property is zoned I-1. Before I go any further, just want to thank staff for working with us on this project. This has been a long time coming. And we're really excited to be here, and being out of state, it makes meetings kind of hard to get to and whatnot. So, we want to thank staff for that. Proposed development consists of about a 3,200.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to have discussion, it's fine. Just if you could have it out the door, that would be great. That way we can focus. Thank you. I'm sorry, continue, sir.
Sure. It's about a 3,200 square foot convenience store, 2,500 square foot automobile fueling canopy over 4 double-sided dispensers. We have a total of 22 parking spaces, 14 striped spaces, plus 8 fueling positions. We typically count the fueling positions because people don't pay attention to what they're doing anymore, and they just park wherever they want to, which is fantastic. We also have underground storage tanks on the north side of the property. We do have a loading area on the north elevation of the building. Do have a dumpster enclosure, underground detention system. Our driveway is kind of a combined access point with the fourth leg of the intersection. We are proposing to construct about a 230-foot long roadway. And our driveway is about 100 feet off that roadway. The roadway will be built to city spec, so it's 8-inch base and all the other stuff that comes with it. Building is a 25-foot tall pitched roof structure, consists of hardy plank as well as a brick water table. Glazing on the main elevation. We do have lighting, landscaping, and signage. I can go into more detail if you would like. The improvements associated with roadway, in, out, left through, right through for the fourth leg. South end of the intersection, we're planning on restriping with the two-way left turn lane, with a 130-foot long left turn lane, direct left turn lane, with about a 65-foot taper. And then that will be back-to-back with the existing turn lane that's out there now into the center. NDOT has reviewed and accepted the design based on the findings of this meeting. We then will submit for final permit. This site has been designed to stay away from the pipeline easement. We have forwarded plans to them already. They've reviewed it. We've made the modifications to it. And again, kind of the same nature as NDOT, we will then provide a final set of site plans to them once we're through this as well. With that being said, we will be filing a plat here in the next couple days to create the 2-acre parcel. And with that being said, we respectfully request approval of the proposed development. Thank you.
That was very well done, sir.
Thank you.
Probably not your first rodeo, is it?
Probably not. First one, second one here, because I've been in this room before.
So I do have a question, it's probably more of a Rick question on the city council. So there was discussion about that being a public road or not being a public road. It's my understanding that right now the city does not want to take it on as a public road, correct?
That was nothing official, that was the last bit of just group conversation.
Okay.
But it's not in stone.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I mean, if there's future development that would use it, then that might.
yeah,
That would be
you took the words right out of my mouth. If this remainder of the property develops and the properties to the south develop, we've provided a stub for those future connections to connect into. And then that also consolidates driveways along State Route 1 and all that fun stuff.
Can't get my bearings on this map. Is it the one that is at Harvest and Main, or is it?
This is the eye doctor's office here.
Okay,
So it's this lot right here.
okay.
Right
Because
across
if you look
from-
on the site plan,
Yeah, that's,
it's not.
Correct, it's not on Harvest Road.
It's just,
The road would
You're gonna build a
continue
connecting
off of 116 Harrison.
But that is not.
so we had originally had that all the way up to the corner.
Okay.
And what happened was once we realized we have the pipeline there, it's unusable space for us, so we went back and moved it back off the hard corner. So we could then utilize as much space as we can, and also leave the Jackson Family Trust as much space as they need.
It's only,
Okay, okay, thank you.
So,
Pull my file. Know it's underground, I know there's pipe. Chambers, yeah, it's an ADS system, I want to say is what they're using.
Is the reason for the contained underground or spill containment, is that?
Little bit of both. The site's a little bit too small for us to get a pond on, and by having an underground system, it helps us it helps us mitigate any problems any kind of releases that may happen.
That's cool.
How often does Casey's use the underground containment stuff?
Not very, I mean, it's very odd that we have a release at all. And if we do, there's not only in-store stuff, but all our employees are trained and they have a spill containment book and all the other stuff that needs to be done and environmental notifications and things like that. But again, that's a significant release. That's not an everyday occurrence.
Mike, do we currently have all the city sign-off items?
Yes, the city signups went out. Those were sent back out for review. The answers have been received. We didn't get any additional feedback on that. So at this point, we believe that the city sign-off side is complete.
Water, sewer, and electric.
Sewer, fire,
Yes.
that,
Yep.
all of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they did add in the Hammerhead.
Yep, we added in the hammerhead, and we did change the location where the sanitary is going to connect in. Our initial plans, again, before we pulled it off the hard corner, had it going backward. And so then we rerouted the sanitary line once we kind of reconfigured our parcel.
So everything that we were concerned about, we're no longer concerned about?
Yeah, in regards to that.
Okay. Sweet. Board members, anything else? Okay, well, we'll have you step back for now and see if there's public comment. At this time, if there's anyone from the public that would like to comment on this development, then please step forward, state your name, and tell us a little bit about what you want to say. Okay, this would be a motion to approve, not approve, or approve with conditions, so. Oh, yeah, my mistake. No, public hearing is now closed. Oh, we'll reopen it slightly for you, sir.
Thanks. You were quick to close it there. Bart Freiger, 5940 East, 1200 South, Warren, Indiana. Actually not a Wells County resident, but I do business here in town. Yeah, I just think that'd actually probably be a nice thing for the south end of town there. I know with the Wells County program, they're trying to get some revitalization down in there. To me, it makes a lot of sense. Could be a good thing.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. All right, last call. Oh, we got another one.
I'm Megan Dunham. I live on 400 North in Craigville. Actually just had a question. Basically, is this going to be just another regular gas station, or is it going to have semi-fill up too? Because that seems to be the most needed thing technically on that side of town, because there is a lot of semi-traffic down that way. Or is it just going to be for?
Just standard.
Just standard?
Just standard filling.
Okay, so,
Yeah, we don't have space to put diesel lanes in there.
okay. That was just my question.
Thanks, Megan. Any other shy people out there? All right, last call. All right, now the public hearing is now closed. Board members, this is a approve or not approve situation. We are not making a recommendation to anyone, so.
Just one clarification. With the long-term status of that drive.
Yes.
Being in question.
Mhm.
But you are building it to city spec.
Correct.
Are you open to having the street department out there when it's being installed so it can be
Sure,
inspected.
sure. Yeah, that
That's
makes,
what I assumed that was gonna take.
that makes no difference to us. Yeah.
And that's just, in that process, it's hard, if nobody's seen it, to say that, yeah, we would accept it.
Yeah.
But
Nope.
open to working with them on that piece.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Do they need to add that to their motion?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
It's to understand that that would be done.
And we'll be in touch as we,
It's my understanding they were gonna cover that ground with you anyway.
yeah. And we'll be in touch too as we start our formal permitting, final permitting process, so yeah.
This is a 24-hour.
We would like it to be 24-hour, but typically with Casey's, they run like 6 to 12, so, and it really depends on where they are. Some interstate locations, they'll be open 24 hours. Sometimes in town, they stay open. And really, it's up to the community. If the community feels there's a need for it, we can obviously take it back to our well. Hey, this would be a good candidate for a 20-hour, 24-hour store. Typically, right now, we're looking at about 18 hours.
Okay, well, board members, time for motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the plan as presented.
We have a motion to approve as presented. Do we have a second? John? All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, board members? All in favor, right hand. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you all very much. Much easier than the last motion, I will say. Y'all have a good one. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, that concludes our new items. We do have some other business. Mr. Lotzenheiser, are you taking that one or am I? Okay, we do have a violation of Roger Watson, V2023-021. Is there a representative here for that violation this evening?
I think that they had some information.
Yeah, Mike does have an update for the board, so.
Yeah, so they have been in contact with our office. They were in the process of procuring a dumpster to continue work out there. It was a brief pause during the hard winter period, but they have been back at it again.
What was our time frame?
We were hoping for an update, knowing that they wouldn't be completed, but just to make sure progress is moving forward. This, though, was scheduled for one of the meetings that we missed, I believe at the February one, if I'm correct, and then it has been punted to this timetable.
So they've had an extra month at this point.
About 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
And yeah, he said that progress is being made currently,
Yes, yeah.
and they are in contact with the office currently. Yes?
Yes,
Okay. So would this would be a situation where we would probably want to extend it again?
I believe so.
Okay. Board members, what do you think is a reasonable time to extend this violation?
Let's review it again in 60 days.
60 days?
Or, I guess,
Two meetings from now.
2 meetings from now, since our last one was in January, so.
And I'll also say that we're not going to have a meeting just for that.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Regularly scheduled business.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and make that into official motion for us?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to review this violation in April, at the June meeting, provided that we have regularly scheduled business on the June meeting.
It would be July.
Excuse me, July meeting. We have, provided that there's regularly scheduled business at that meeting, and if not, then whatever the next available meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to revisit this in the July meeting if there is regularly scheduled business. If not, we will push it out until we do have regularly scheduled business. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, board members? All in favor, right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, well, that would conclude my part in the other business. Mr. Lotzenheiser, I believe you get to take command of the ship.
All right. Okay, so at the beginning of the year, we have been working on ordinance amendments that we had talked about last year. Pull that up here. You don't want to see the bottom half of my face right now. So just kind of give the board members a little bit of an idea of what the ordinance amendments that we have been working on, and to kind of highlight to the public and to the board our goals in this. So the very first thing that we did, we set off to do, and this all rolls back to the concept that we wanted to make sure that we were using, that we had solid definitions in our definition section to back up the ordinance requirements in our zoning and subdivision control ordinance. The second thing in my mind is I wanted a better way to show what words and phrases in the ordinance text were actually defined in the definition section. So when somebody is reading the document, they would be able to clearly see that, oh, this word is formatted in a certain way, showing that there is a corresponding definition if you want to get a better understanding of what that word or phrase means. So in that, we've seen some other ordinances across the state that have shown a certain type of formatting where it is very obvious that this is a defined term in the ordinance. And so what we chose to go with was a bold text with the first letter in every word was capitalized, underlined. And then at the bottom of the page, so you can see on this page has a lot of examples of defined text. So you can see all of those. And then the very bottom of every page, scoot down a little bit, there would be a caveat on the bottom that says that text in this format would show that is a defined word in Article 18 definitions. So that's the very first thing. So technically speaking, for the most part, this isn't really an ordinance amendment. This is a formatting change. Now, where that changed a little bit in the process is in the case where the word in the definition section or the word in the permitted use table was different from one another, or that there were various ways of writing the same term that we needed to address and keep for consistency. So the goal being that I wanted you to be able to highlight, copy, search, and find the definition. So in this case, you can see in 313, Plan Commission staff, we're removing the term area because the term in the definition section is just Plan Commission staff. We don't need area in there. The term in the definition that if you grab Plan Commission staff, searched for it, you'd find the definition under that. So that's in the formatting part, you'll see actual ordinance amendments where we're removing or adding text focused on that specific type of amendment. So wanted to clarify that. So as we're working through here, the next item that we spent a significant time working on, other than the definition section, was the permitted use table. So again, a viewpoint of what we wanted to accomplish was we wanted to make sure that the permitted use table both aligned with the definition section. So every term in the permitted use table would have a corresponding definition. That's a 1-to-1 ratio. We didn't want anything off to that. In that process, it did take us making some changes to how the words were written to make sure that it matched the exact way the definition and the permitted use table matched each other. We also found that there were certain things in the definition section that maybe didn't quite get to the permitted use table and the way the permitted use table works. If it's not specifically listed in there, it's not a permitted use in Wells County. And so we looked at that, okay, here's a definition that we had, but it's not in the table. So technically, it's not a permitted use until it's put in there. and to also be split out some things to help define that. So when we're looking at this, the very first amendments in the table, you can see that we removed just the general term for accessory structures because we already have it. It's a redundant one because we have accessory structures general and residential. Accessory use was not, it was actually listed as use accessory later on. We moved it so that it was in line with the other accessory words so you could easily find it. The land use aerobic digester is listed as an option for odor abatement for CAFOs or for confined feeding operations. But the way that they're developed sometimes can be a standalone structure or part of another development. So we wanted to make sure that it had a natural living spot in the permitted use table at the same place and location that a confined feeding operation would be. Asphalt manufacturing, it's not a plant in the definition, it's facility. The same way with auto and or truck body repair garage. We did, for battery energy storage system user scale, that's just a small scale one. We did want to make sure that it was permitted and across the board. We left out the conservation C1 district in the past, so that got added in there. We had an interesting definition about bulk fuel storage. We had one for commercial, but the way you could have read that might have made it hard for a residential property to have a propane tank or something by the definition. So we wanted to make sure that it's very clear that there's a residential scale and a commercial scale operation. That would be laid out in those different zoning classifications. The CAFO and CFO terms were both in the ordinance, but the ordinance is written using the CFO term consistently, so we took the CAFO out and kept the CFO so that it's consistent across the board. Car wash was a term that was not in the ordinance in the past. It was, we used that underneath a definition that wasn't necessarily perfect for that. So added that in there. Cemeteries, we matched where they are actually in the community to the zoning districts that they are in. So clubs, we removed the private tag to it because the way the definition fits, it's not a private club. It can be a private or public club. College, it's just all things college, not just buildings and grounds. Communication tower, it was under Tower Farm, so we wanted it to be listed as communication tower. Community garden, that is a situation where it's kind of not a commercial facility, but actually a shared community garden, so showing where it could be a permitted use at. You have it up on the, oh. Yeah, okay. So that one we added in late, but it is on the website. So if you use the website version of it. Community garden, it's in all zoning districts except for the industrial 1, 2, and landfill and power plant overlay. Condominiums, it was a duplicate item, so condominiums actually would be approved as a multifamily residential unit or project. Data center, didn't exist in our ordinance definition. We found the modern definition of a data center in the industrial 1 and 2 district. Daycare center, we had been requested for upcoming multifamily residential project to allow daycare centers to be in R3 zoning classifications. So showing that amendment there. Oops. Drive-in theater, shown in the B3 zoning district. We had drive-in business, which is not a theater, but more like a drive-in restaurant. You can see the dwelling condominiums there. Nothing has changed to what uses they're in. We had a definition for eating and drinking establishment. Oddly enough, it's the same definition as restaurant, so we took that out. We did add a definition for entertainment establishment in there, and it kept with the same basic permitted uses to cover things that are not a restaurant. Fraternity and sorority, you'll see both of those. Housing would fit any place that a single-family home is permitted. If there are multiple single-family homes, it would be considered as a multifamily residential project. Gasoline, oil retail sales, keeping things consistent with the other uses, allowing it in the I-1 zoning, when the convenience store that we just used is also a permitted use in the I-1 zoning. So if they didn't have a convenience store for some reason, they were left out. But if they were, so tried to carry that a little bit. Government facilities are pulled out of the of another definition and are allowed in all zoning districts as they were in the past, but it helps define what one is. Machine and welding shop, we had a conversation a while ago with the rezoning at the end of Washington Street and looked at making it a permitted use in the B3 zoning district. Print shop, or actually parks and playgrounds, that's a redundant land use. That is, but doesn't change where it's used at. Print shop, showing it zone or used or available in the normal business and industrial locations. Racetrack, a new definition, thought based on recent conversations, probably should have that addressed. And in the I-2 zoning district, recycling ones, those were updated to, and public recreation, just to make it defined to match better. Did have a mark for question marks on the definition of retirement home. It's something that we probably need to have a greater conversation about. Is a retirement home different than a multifamily development? And for some reason, a retirement home of any of the multifamily residential type developments is allowed in the AR and A1 zoning district. But we don't allow a apartment complex to be there, but just a retirement home.
So is there a separate definition for nursing home?
There is.
Are they one and the same?
No.
Or is there like the retirement community condo style type?
Yeah, well, yeah, so nursing homes are allowed in the same one, so they're duplicated. So there really is the same question. Why is a nursing home and a retirement home allowed in the agricultural zoning districts? But then that's where one of ours is. So something that we may want to discuss, I guess it kind of open up to the board, is that something
So
you want nursing homes and retirement homes? Yes, is A1 zoned.
So is that, I guess, if we think, hey, maybe that shouldn't be allowed in A1.
Yeah.
Should that be one of our recommendations to change that property zoning to a R?
3 or, yeah, yeah.
Is that something? Is that
Very well,
is that
possibly,
cons-
yeah.
That's not the city limits.
No, it's not in the city limits, but it's served by city sewer and
Served by
water.
city-
City
city
services,
city
yep,
city
yep,
sewage.
and water.
So you're saying that nursing home retirement allowed in A1, but a condo, multifamily home not allowed in A1?
Correct. Yeah, you're not allowed to do a multi, yeah, so it's inconsistent with the other uses.
Interesting.
I would think that would fit more of the bar style zoning than doing something like terrace.
Yeah.
That's more like apartments.
Mhm.
But maybe we need to look at recommending the zoning change on that property.
I like that.
Yeah. But you'd be open to adjusting those to be allowed in the R3 consistent with their type of use?
I would agree with you 100% on that.
Okay.
Yep.
That's just me.
We'll
I like
adjust that for the next time.
Yep.
See sorority, we already talked about that. U-store, in the past, we have used the warehouse definition for U-stores. So we took a very normal definition of U-store building, kept it in the same zoning classifications as what they have been in the past. So the first time that it's specifically, but it really isn't necessarily a warehouse. It is slightly different, but the same zoning classifications. In regards to, yes. Yep. Yeah.
Back to bulk fuel storage, so there's commercial and residential.
Yep.
Since we have residences in A1 districts.
It should be in, yeah, we should adjust that.
Be allowed in A1.
Yeah, it should be. So we'll change that.
Well, I guess while you're going back, I'm gonna ask a question about the communication tower. So we are not able to regulate cell phone towers anymore.
Yep. We can where they can go by zoning. We can't tell them how to build them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is a communication tower the same zoning class, or in the same zoning area as a cell phone tower? Or are they one and the same?
They're the one and the same. Yes, that is what they are. Yep. Yep.
Mike, what's WECS?
That is wind energy conversion system.
Okay.
So,
And large doesn't have anything in it?
correct, that is accurate.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yep. Any other questions in regards to the permitted use table section? Okay. All right, this next page kind of highlights some of the other changes that were made. We wanted to make sure that we were consistent across county-wide planning. So when we did the Vision 2035 plan, we used the federal highway definitions for road classifications. That is also used by NERC in their traffic counts and traffic maps that we use, that are used for grant applications, stuff like that. So in that part of it, we wanted to be consistent with how we use the words in the zoning ordinance and subdivision control ordinance in the past. We just had terms like collector and arterial. Now we would be using the actual federal highway terms to verify that. So we'd be using other principal arterial public way, which the only road that's under that classification is State Road 1. We'd be using other freeway, other expressway, collectors, major and minor, in those terminologies so that we're consistent across the board. Whether it's determining our right-of-way widths, like this table is showing, and also using public way consistently throughout the ordinance instead of road or street. That way, one definition covers all of it instead. So wanted to be consistent towards that is the goal of the big part of the ordinance amendment process. So, sorry if you get dizzy as we move through this quickly.
Just close one eye.
Yeah, don't look at it close. Do you want to get to the ordinance definition section? There we are. Almost. One more.
Almost.
All right. So, Article 18, obviously the focus of a lot of the amendment is in here. We went through and made sure that if the definition was listed, first we checked to make sure it is actually used in the zoning or subdivision control ordinance at all. You'd be surprised, we removed quite a bit of them that just weren't. So we wanted to make sure if there's a definition that's actually used in the information. The one thing that we wanted to change in the ordinance right off the bat was the fallback for how to define words if we don't define them in the definition. So in the past, we used the Anderson American Law of Zoning document. They actually don't publish that anymore. So we would have to use an old document, which means at some point there will be words that aren't in it. And that is important. So it is pretty consistent across attorneys that Black's Law Dictionary is much more common and is also fully up to date. So you can go on Amazon today, purchase a brand new edition, and get that information. So if there's another piece to that puzzle that isn't listed here, the fallback of like, what does that word mean? It would be the common definition in Black's Law Dictionary, not the Anderson American Law. So otherwise, what we did is, there was a lot of places when we did past amendments, we kind of duplicated, so the word, we use this example, so APC was listed, Wells County Area Plan Commission was listed, Area Plan Commission was listed, Plan Commission was listed as separate definitions. Now, you will be able to find the one definition, but we will use this caveat on the end, so if you can search for any of those and find that definition. So I'm going to find an example where it says, like here it says AKA board president, committee president, president. So if you search for any of those, you'll find the definition for board or committee president. So we wanted to make sure, so they all mean the same thing. So instead of having, in this case, 4 different definitions, we have one focused. Do you look at the bulk fuel storage piece here with the AKA pieces so you can find it? Need to fix the spelling on that for commercial. You see the definition for car wash. When we were doing this, we did use a readily available planning dictionary that we were able to find. It basically had different ordinances across the countries, definitions. We were able to use that to help gain that. And you can also see within the definitions, if there's another defined word, it's still staying with that formatting. So you can pull off and be like, oh, what does a parcel mean? And go find it. So you see a definition for community garden. You can see the things that we removed out, items that were not in there or moved to another section. The definition for data center shown in there. Drive-in theater. And condominium dwelling, reason for formatting is so that all dwelling definitions are all together. Easy to find, easy to use. Eating and drinking establishment being removed. Enforcement officer, that was not defined. It was actually defined in the actual text of the zoning ordinance, so we pulled that out. We didn't remove it, but we duplicated it in the definition section.
What page are you on, Mike?
We are in 92.
Thank you.
Entertainment establishment, see the definition there. Be very clear that has nothing to do with adult entertainment. Wells County has
Appreciate that.
Wells County has its own ordinance for that. This was adopted several years ago. I'm so happy. Yeah. Going through government facility, you can see what's all included that. So just making sure that everything fits under that classification or is defined somewhere else, like parks are under a different definition, sewer, water, stuff like that is under a different definition.
A lot of yellow on here, Mike.
Yep. Most of it is just getting rid of redundancy. And then, hey, now it's time to talk about the other thing that we did. So we were challenged to come up with a requirement in regards to objectionable noise. Specifically, the ordinance requirement difference between industrial 1 and industrial 2, heavy and light manufacturing. Remember during the ALMCO rezoning process, that was a big piece of that discussion of what we could do. In that process, the challenge was trying to find something defendable that we can make a difference between what is an objectionable noise and what isn't. So this is not an easy subject matter. And I'll start off that looking at, like, using the planning dictionary that we had with all the different communities, only one of them had anything that you could measure. Everybody else used the same general text, that if it was objectionable, it was not okay. So to set off, only one of them spoke of a way of measuring it. And the way they measured it was by an amount of decibels over ambient sound. To explain, ambient sound is the noise that a room or the outdoors makes all on its own. So that level changes. That level changes based on the time of day, what's going on in the property, all those things. But it's not any new noises. It's just the noises of the wind. It's the noises of trees, all the different factors that make ambient noise. If there's a property near an interstate highway or State Road 1, there is an ambient noise level of being near a road. So it in itself gives a range of potential noises based on the time that study or information was taken. Objectionable noise would have to be something greater than ambient noise. So in the world of noise, you have to raise by 3 decibel levels to have any idea that it happened. And 3 decibel levels is a doubling of sound pressure, not perceived sound, but sound pressure. So by going up by 10 decibels is something that you would feel is actually double the ambient sound. That you would definitely notice it over the top of something else. So the proposed amendment right now would be that it would be something that created a 10 decibel level or greater above ambient sound as measured at the point where you leave that zoning district. So if it's an I2 zoning and they have the heavy manufacturing use, and it is knowing that it can create an objectionable sound, once it leaves the I2 zoning, it has to be non-objectionable. So that is how that would be handled. It's the only way we could really come to a point where we thought you could measure something. Is it easier to measure? No. Because you would have to be out there for a period of 48 hours probably to figure out whether there's a violation or not. And you probably would have to hire somebody professionally to do that work. You can have a noise meter and you can attempt to do it, but to be defendable in court, I think you're out there with an actual study, and somebody is paying for that to be done to see if there's an objection.
But they could use that study and cross-reference it with the ordinance to say you
Yes,
are or are not in
yeah, if
violation.
it's consistent. Now, the other thing we stated in the past or discussions is that objectionable noise can't include things that everybody has to have. So if you have a forklift, doesn't matter where your forklift's located, it has to have backup beeper. That's not something that anybody can change. The same with a semi-truck. So you have to pull those things out of the definition. It has to be like building operation noise that would be in that discussion. So that's where, another part where it gets sticky is that some of the things that are allowed and objectionable, we don't want to be in the business of trying to, we can't say they can't do those things.
It's kind of difficult because 90 decibels of low frequency feels very different than 90 decibels of higher frequency. So you're getting into the gray water here big time. I get it. I don't, we talked about that back when we were doing the ongoing discussions. But how do you define it?
Yeah.
It isn't just mere volume that makes the difference.
Correct. Yeah. So, of all the things that we probably need to discuss this evening, it's probably the one that is the hardest.
So, say we go with this definition. We use it. Somebody comes to your office and says, I think they are making objectionable noise.
Yep.
Is it our responsibility and going to be at our cost to hire said consultant to do that study? Is it the person who's complaining's responsibility to do that? How do we handle that, number one? And I guess part of that, you have a decibel meter.
Yep.
Is it something that you're going to, like, hey, I'll check, it's not even close, or, maybe it's worth doing the study? I mean, how are we gonna handle the enforcement side if we have to?
So, as far as how we do any other violation, if there was a cost to it, no different than my mileage to or from a site, that would be ours to cover. Can we afford to do them? Probably not. Or not very many of them. We don't have a line item for ordinance enforcement. Most of the stuff we do does not require that type of use. It's a photo but can't hear noise in the photo.
So is it gonna put us in a position if there's a complaint filed, you've gotta go back to the county council and ask for money to
to go after something that may or may not be.
If they say, no, there's no money, whatever, then do we have a rule that we can't enforce?
Yep,
Does it put us in that position?
it could.
If it's in the city of Bluffton, you go to the city council and ask them for the money? I mean, how do we do that?
Don't look at me.
We were all looking at you.
Well, no, I mean, if you think about it, the county budget, there's not nearly as many factories and manufacturing and all that stuff in the county. Most of those are going to be in a city or town somewhere. Is the county council going to be willing to fund, like, doing this study and all that? It's not in the county, we don't care. It's in the city of Bluffton now. Heard it many times. City taxpayers pay county taxes just the same, so it's their money too. But are we?
Yeah.
I hate to put you in a position that you've got to go to the council and ask for money for something like that. Or can you check randomly with the meter that you have and say, it's worth looking into, or that's 2 decibels different?
Yeah. So I was just trying, if you've got a meter, if it's a quality meter, I know we'd have to pay you to do it. Right today, go randomly take some samples so you get an idea of what you're dealing with.
We have,
Like you said, if it's 10 dB is quite a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you go out and get a baseline, just in general, you've got something to work with.
Yeah.
If you go out there, there's a punch press and they got the overhead door going open, it might be something to talk to. Like you said, we gotta have a 2-day study and pay engineers to come out there with all the fancy equipment and then deduct what's a truck.
Yeah.
Beat, oh my God, that's thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. I'll bet you.
And I don't want it to be that people would, maybe without cause, just like, oh, we don't like that noise.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it could get very, very
That's what I say.
expensive.
Could it be written in such a way that that's our first line and then maybe there's an appeal or something where they, I agree.
Yeah, so in the main set, that how a violation works, so if you're like talking about that process, first it's me going to the site as the ordinance enforcement officer. If I feel that there is a violation, so we would get our noise meter out, we would calibrate it with the calibrating device, we'd take it out on the site, and we would start collecting information. If we felt that there was something there, then we would write an ordinance violation. If they felt they weren't in violation, they would appeal it to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals decides that it's not a violation, it goes away. If it is a violation, then it goes back to our normal enforcement process. We have 30 days to figure out a plan to comply. We work through the same thing that we're doing for everybody else.
So is the intent of that being added to the ordinance or complaint-based versus
Yeah, there's
just
no,
routine
yeah,
compliance?
there's no routine
Okay.
compliance. Yep.
And this won't retroactively apply to businesses already established?
All things would be grandfathered.
All,
That was my question, yeah.
all
Yeah.
things would be grandfathered except for new.
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, we cannot make something that already exists comply with this.
So how
They
many?
would, they would comply with the old term.
Right, so that
Some
means how many new things would you be checking on in the next 5, 10? You know what I mean?
What this would do partially is put developers on notice that if they're doing a heavy industrial use, that they need to be aware of what they're doing to keep it in or
Here's the
above. Yeah.
parameters. that
Yeah.
we state.
Yeah, it gives them something to do a sound study against or do something to show compliance. And this all ties into part of the development plan requirement that says that they need to comply if they're in the I-1 zoning, they need to comply. If the I-2, they need to comply in the boundary concept.
Does your meter have like a printout or anything on it, or a
No.
date?
No, you would have to take a photo, it doesn't print anything.
Are there readers that would just sit and forget and record?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and ours does that. It will spit out a range if you let it do that. But
You
it,
could get them to do data logging.
Right, so you could just set it, forget it, and come back and check it.
yeah.
You wouldn't have to official 2-day
I
study,
wouldn't,
camping out.
we would not walk away from
Playing
our
your
unit.
I think if we were going to go to
I
court,
would be there.
this is
Yeah.
my opinion.
Okay.
If we were going to go to court with enforcement, we better have somebody that is certified,
Yeah.
by all that stuff. If you're gonna go after somebody in court.
Yep.
Well, and if it's going to that level, I think that we've already had discussions with council or commissioners of, hey, here's what's going on.
Yeah. Most likely, we're not the only ones that would hear about
You'd have to get an acoustic engineer or somebody like that to consult.
Correct.
it. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I like the definition personally.
I like it.
I like it.
There's
I
arguments
just wanna
for
make
and against.
Yeah,
just wanna make
But
sure
it's to,
we don't
Yeah, what
set ourselves
the
up
truth
for-
is, yeah.
It's
of
good
thousands of
it's good
dollars.
to look at the dark side and make sure that we're not backing ourselves into something.
Yeah.
But I like it because it does give developers we gotta do something about this situation before it becomes a situation.
Yeah, I just don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars on frivolous complaints. If we can avoid, if there's a way to avoid that before we make it.
Yeah, I understand. Because right now, there was nothing in the old About noise,
Nope,
correct?
just said noise. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So if you look at the manufacturing, so before, it just, which may produce such noise, vibration, and now it'll say you produce such objectionable noise.
Yeah, I see it.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I got it.
Well, light manufacturing says no continuous process involved will produce objectionable noise.
So while we're talking about this,
Yeah.
what's the procedure moving on with these changes?
So, like what happens, so at our next meeting, we'd have a public hearing.
Okay,
That is this, like, in our mind, our schedule.
okay.
And at that point, then we move on to the legislative bodies with a recommendation.
Okay, so it goes to public hearing, has to be accepted by the
Yep. Mhm.
authoritative bodies. It's not, nothing's being,
Yep. Today, we're just
Okay.
introducing things.
We have a meeting next month.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is not the only item. Yep. Okay. So.
Is that like
Yeah.
homework? Like, we need to go home and chew on this thing and then
Yeah, a
email
little bit,
you
yeah,
with
yeah. if
any
there's-
ideas we have?
Yeah, if board members have ideas, within the
So
time.
camp on the objectionable thing and think about it pretty
Yeah,
hard.
you know, we just need to make sure that we have the full draft ready for presentation for everybody to review 2 weeks ahead of our meeting, basically.
So
So
that would
whatever.
be 2 days before the end of May, because our meeting's June the 12th.
Yeah.
Okay. Still like it. Okay.
So, while this is fairly consistent, you can see all the definitions we took everything out of the federal highway definitions, so you can see all of those. Cross. Commercial recreation, public recreation. Showing the differences there.
Can you
Yep.
pull it